Ladies and gentlemen, this is Steve Harvey, and tonight we're diving into a question every woman has asked at least once in her life. What makes a man reach out first? Now listen, it ain't always about who texts who or who calls first. It's about what's behind that action. See, men don't just wake up one morning thinking, let me hit her up for no reason. Nah, there's always a trigger, emotional, mental, or even spiritual, that pushes a man to reach out first. A man reaches out first when he feels a genuine emotional connection. See, ladies, men might act tough, keep that poker face, and pretend like they're unbothered. But deep down, every man craves a connection that feels real. When a woman reaches into his heart, not with words, not with pressure, but with authenticity, that's when something starts to shift inside him. Men are not as complicated as people make them out to be. What confuses them is when they can't tell if a woman's feelings are genuine or if it's just another game. When a man feels that you're not trying to control him, not trying to impress him, but simply being you, that's when his guard starts to drop. And let me tell you, a man doesn't reach out first because of your beauty, your body, or your charm. He reaches out because of how you made him feel. When a man feels that emotional safety, that he can talk to you without being judged, that you understand his silence, and that you listen with your heart, he begins to associate peace with you. And peace is powerful. Men don't chase chaos. They chase calm. They chase that one woman who makes them feel like they can breathe. When you bring peace into his world, you become a place he wants to return to. Even if he's busy, distracted, or trying to act distant, that emotional connection will keep calling him back. You can't fake that kind of bond. It's in the way you talk to him, the way you listen, the way you respond, and even in your silence. Most men spend years hiding behind their walls, but when he meets a woman who makes him feel seen, not for what he does, but for who he is, that changes everything. Suddenly, he's not just thinking about you, he's feeling you. That's what makes him pick up that phone, draft that message, or even just check your profile again. It's not about curiosity, it's about connection. He might not even understand it fully himself, but something about you lingers. It's in his thoughts when he wakes up, when he drives, when he's alone. That's what emotional energy does. It stays. Now, the thing about connection is, it's never forced. The moment you try to make a man connect, he'll resist. But when it happens naturally, it sticks. It becomes his reason to reach out, his reason to want to talk again, his reason to feel like maybe, just maybe, you were the one who really understood him. And here's the truth. Men remember how a woman made them feel long after they forget what she said. If your energy made him feel calm, inspired, respected, and understood, that memory will pull him back toward you. That's what makes a man reach out first, not because he has to, but because deep down, he wants to. He reaches out when his ego feels safe and respected. Now let's get one thing straight, ladies. A man's ego isn't just pride or arrogance. It's his sense of identity, his need to feel valued, and his desire to be seen as capable and worthy. Every man, no matter how confident he appears, carries that quiet need for validation, not from everyone, but from the woman who matters. When a man feels that a woman respects him, not by words alone, but by her tone, her energy, and how she treats him, that's when something changes. Respect is the language that speaks directly to a man's soul. You could be beautiful, successful, funny, but if a man doesn't feel respected by you, he'll never feel emotionally safe enough to reach out first. Respect feeds his confidence, and confidence fuels connection. Men live in a world where they're constantly told to be strong, to never show weakness, to always have it together. So when he meets a woman who allows him to just be, who doesn't tear him down, doesn't mock his dreams, and doesn't make him feel small, that's when his heart starts to soften. When his ego feels safe, he begins to trust her presence. He realizes he can let his guard down. And that's when he starts to reach out more freely. Because no man wants to approach a woman who makes him feel like he's in competition or like he's constantly being tested. But a woman who gives him respect even when she disagrees, that's the woman who gets his attention every time. See, men are wired to protect their ego the way women protect their hearts. If a woman can understand that balance, that his pride isn't something to break, but something to understand, she becomes irreplaceable in his mind. When a man knows you respect his time, his effort, and even his silence, he feels value. And when a man feels value, he naturally wants to give more of himself. He starts wanting to communicate, to connect, to reach out. It's not about feeding his ego in a manipulative way. It's about honoring the part of him that craves appreciation. Even a simple, I respect what you're doing or I'm proud of you can make a man feel like he's 10 feet tall. That energy builds attraction on a deeper level because respect to a man feels like love in action. And when he knows his ego is safe with you, that you won't embarrass him, that you won't throw his flaws back in his face, he feels free to be vulnerable. That's rare for men. So when a man feels that comfort, he doesn't want to lose it. He'll reach out first, not out of habit, but out of desire, the desire to stay close to the person who makes him feel respected, understood, and seen. Because to a man, the woman who protects his ego is the woman who touches his soul. He reaches out when he knows you're not chasing him. See, ladies, there's something powerful about a woman who can care without chasing, love without begging, and stay present without losing herself. Men are drawn to energy that feels calm, confident, and in control. When you stop chasing, it tells a man that you value yourself enough not to run after what isn't running toward you. It shows him that you're centered, that you understand your worth, and that you're not desperate for attention. And believe me, that kind of energy makes a man curious. When a woman stops reaching out all the time, stops trying to prove her love, and just allows things to flow, a man begins to wonder. He starts asking himself, why isn't she calling like before? Has she moved on? Does she still care? That curiosity plants the seed that makes him reach out first. Men are natural pursuers. They were designed to chase what they value. But when a woman flips the script and becomes the one chasing, that dynamic loses its balance. A man starts to take her effort for granted, thinking she's always going to be there. But when you pull back and focus on your own life, you trigger something deep inside him, his instinct to pursue, to re-engage, to prove himself again. It's not a game, it's human nature. The moment you stop chasing, you stop feeding his ego, and suddenly he starts missing that attention. But instead of you reaching out, he's the one who starts wondering where that energy went. That's when his phone gets heavy in his hand. That's when he starts scrolling through your profile, and that's when he sends that first message. Now, here's the real magic. When a man realizes that your happiness doesn't depend on his attention, it shifts his entire perspective. He sees a woman who's complete on her own, who doesn't need validation to feel worthy. And that independence, that peace, that glow, it's magnetic. He starts to see you not as someone chasing love, but as someone who is love. And that's powerful. You see, a woman who doesn't chase teaches a man how to value her presence. She shows him that her energy is a privilege, not a guarantee. She doesn't withhold it out of anger, but out of self-respect. And let's be honest, when you stop chasing, you also stop settling. You give him space to realize your absence. You let him see what life feels like without your attention, your warmth, your energy. That's when the silence starts speaking louder than words. It's in that silence that a man starts to feel the difference between what's common and what's rare. And when he realizes you're not waiting on him, that's when he starts moving toward you. Because a man reaches out first when he senses you've stopped chasing, not because you don't care, but because you finally remembered who you are. He reaches out when he feels your absence more than your presence. Sometimes it's not the words you say or the calls you make that leave a mark. It's your silence, your distance, and the space you create when you step back. When a man starts to feel the weight of your absence, that's when reality hits him. In the beginning, He might think he's fine without you, caught up in his routine, his friends, or distractions. But as time passes, he begins to notice that something's missing. The energy you brought into his life, the laughter, the encouragement, the peace starts to echo in the quiet moments. That's when he feels the difference between being alone and feeling lonely. And when a man starts to feel that emptiness, it stirs something deep inside him that makes him reach out. You see, presence is easy to overlook when it's constant. People often take for granted what they believe will always be there. But absence has a way of teaching appreciation. When you pull your energy back, when you stop showing up the way you used to, that's when a man starts to reflect. He starts to replay the moments he brushed off, the messages he ignored, the effort he didn't match. And suddenly, what felt normal starts to feel heavy. That's the power of your absence. It creates awareness. He begins to realize that no one else brings that same energy, that same calm, that same comfort you did. Now, it's important to understand that your absence doesn't mean playing games or cutting someone off in anger. It's about allowing him to feel what it's like without your constant presence. It's giving space for clarity to grow, for him to recognize that what he had with you was special. Men don't always understand value in the moment. Sometimes they need silence to hear their own heart and distance to see what they truly had. When your energy is no longer easily available, it forces him to see the truth, that not everyone can give what you gave. And here's what's powerful. When you step back with grace, not bitterness, that absence becomes unforgettable. He starts to miss the way you made him feel safe. He remembers your voice, your kindness, your encouragement. He starts realizing that no one has matched your energy since you pulled away. That feeling of emptiness starts turning into longing, and that longing becomes motivation. That's when he reaches out. He might not even know what to say. He might just send a simple hey, but that hey carries all the weight of what he's been missing. A man reaches out first when your absence speaks louder than your presence ever did. When he finally understands that what he took lightly was actually rare. Because when a woman knows her worth enough to step back, she gives a man the gift of missing her, and that's the moment he realizes he never wanted to lose her in the first place. He reaches out when he sees you growing without him. There's something deeply magnetic about a woman who decides to rise after being overlooked, who chooses to focus on herself instead of waiting for someone to notice her worth. When a man sees you healing, smiling again, and building your life piece by piece without him, it sparks something powerful inside him. At first, he might have thought you'd always be there, waiting, checking in, holding on to hope. But when he looks around and realizes you've stopped chasing, stopped explaining, and started thriving, that's when his pride starts to crack. Growth is loud in silence. It shows through your energy, your confidence, your peace. A man can sense it even from a distance, and that quiet transformation pulls him in. Men are naturally competitive, even in love. When he sees you glowing, not pretending, but genuinely doing better, it challenges him. It makes him question his choices, his effort, and his place in your life. He starts thinking, did she really move on? How did she get so strong? That curiosity quickly turns into admiration, and admiration turns into desire. He reaches out because he wants to know if he still has a place in the life you built without him. When a man realizes that you didn't fall apart when he walked away, but instead became stronger, wiser, and happier, it shakes his ego and stirs his emotion. He starts to understand that maybe, just maybe, he underestimated your strength. You see, your growth tells a story, one that says, I loved you, but I love myself more. And that message hits differently. When a man sees you evolving, focusing on your goals, taking care of yourself, walking with confidence, he starts to see the woman he once knew in a whole new light. He notices what he missed before, your discipline, your independence, your glow. Growth is the ultimate revenge, but not in a bitter way. It's proof that you didn't need him to become who you were meant to be. And here's the beautiful part. When you grow, Your energy changes. You're no longer operating from pain or need. You're operating from power. That shift is what makes a man stop and take notice. He starts remembering the times he had your attention, and he begins to feel that void. But now, you're different. You're no longer the same woman who waited for his text. You're the woman who realized her value and kept moving forward. That realization creates a ripple inside him, a mix of respect, regret, and longing. He might not say it out loud, but that feeling makes him reach out. A man reaches out when he sees your growth because it reminds him of everything. He lost your support, your softness, your loyalty. Your evolution becomes the mirror that reflects his choices. And in that reflection, he finally sees your worth. That's when he comes back, not because you need him, but because your strength showed him you were never his to take for granted. He reaches out when he realizes you're a woman of value he can't replace. A man can meet many women in his life, but only a few leave a mark so deep that he can't shake it off. When he realizes that you were one of those rare ones, the kind who brought peace, grace, understanding, and love without losing herself, that's when his heart wakes up. At first, he might have been distracted by temporary thrills or surface-level attention, thinking that he could find someone better or easier. But over time, he starts to notice that no one else measures up. The connection, the loyalty, the depth is missing in everyone else. And when that realization hits, it hits hard. That's when he starts to reach out. Not because he's lonely, but because he's finally understood your worth. A woman of value doesn't beg, chase, or settle. She stands firm in who she is. And that confidence is unforgettable. Men remember the woman who respected herself, who knew how to love, but also how to walk away when she wasn't valued. That's what separates her from the rest. When a man looks back and sees that you didn't crumble without him, that you didn't lose your dignity trying to hold on to him, he feels something shift inside. He starts to realize that while others may have offered attention, none brought the same sense of depth and authenticity you did. A woman of value doesn't just fill space, she elevates it. And once a man has experienced that kind of energy, he can't forget it. Over time, he starts to replay the moments he didn't appreciate. The way you supported him, listened to him, understood him when no one else did. He remembers your kindness, your patience, and your strength. Those memories linger because they were real. And deep down, every man craves something real. When he goes out and sees that other women might be attractive but lack your character, he starts to feel that emptiness again, that longing for something genuine. That's when it dawns on him that what you gave wasn't ordinary, it was rare. And rare things aren't easily replaced. When he realizes you're a woman of value, the kind who adds peace instead of drama, who inspires instead of drains, he starts to question his own actions. He wonders why he let go, why he didn't try harder, and why he thought he'd find another you. That mix of regret and admiration becomes a powerful force, one that pulls him back toward you. He might try to play it cool, but that message he sends, that call he makes, comes from a place of genuine realization. A man reaches out when he understands that you were not just another woman. You were the woman who saw him clearly, who loved him without losing herself, and who knew her worth even when he didn't. When that truth hits him, he knows he can search the world and still not find another you. That's when he reaches out, because he finally realizes you're irreplaceable.